Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us in the world, and welcome to today's edition of European Weekly Catch-Up. Hello guys, Bruno here for Football Worldwide, and as mentioned earlier, welcome to today's edition of European Weekly Catch-Up. Today, we're not going to be going through fixture by fixture, through all the leagues. What we're really going to be doing is doing a summary of this year's competition as to where it stands, who's struggling, who's going to win. We're going to give you our predictions. Anthony will be joining me shortly, and we will be discussing everything European Weekly Football. And we'll do a nice Champions League coverage as well. So stay tuned. Put some comments in the questions in the comment section, and we will get started. Before we move on, just some formalities, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Football Worldwide to stay up to date with all your football needs. We will be announcing a couple of spectacular shows coming soon, specifically to do with the World Cup and how we will be doing daily, bi-daily videos to just cover fixtures and rounds throughout the World Cup and predictions and so forth, now that the draw's been done as well. So without further ado, let's go to our first league, the EPL. So the EPL is rounding up to be something quite special this year as Anthony jumps in. How are you, mate?
I'm great, mate. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. As I told everyone right before Anth joined, we'll be doing not a traditional European Weekly Catch-Up. We're just going to get the tables up, have a chat, a discussion, talk about European football as a whole, Champions League, domestic cups, all of that stuff, because we are getting to the nitty-gritty end of the season. And basically, we can pretty much deliver some very well-informed predictions as to how the season will be wrapping up. So without further ado, I am going to pull up the Premier League table as we see it. And as you can see there, and we've got Man City sitting pretty on 77 points on the top of the table, with Liverpool 1 point behind them. And Chelsea have a game in hand still. So, they've really got 2 games in hand, but they're quite far off the pace after their loss this morning to Arsenal. And as you move down to the
that was a surprise. That one. Arsenal were in really shit dire form. So I think that win, I think that turns Arsenal's season back into a positive, and they're going to sneak the 4th spot.
Yeah, so a beautiful segue into what we're going to talk about. Manchester City, Liverpool, 1 point clear of Liverpool, Manchester City. The decisive fixture played 2 weeks ago was Liverpool City, and it ended 2-2 again, I think it was. But no one took all maximum points there. Liverpool have a tougher run home than City, but do you see City vaulting, or do you see Liverpool taking over?
I think, and you know me, I'm a Man United fan, but a long time ago I said that I can't hate watching these teams play. I can't hate them from a footballing perspective. I'm a club fan second and a footballing fan first, and these 2 clubs have played the best football in Europe consistently over the last 5 years, more than any other club. They're honestly so brilliant to watch. There are not many games and teams left in the world that you can go into every week and chuck your house and your mortgage on them getting 3 points domestically. You know, even Bayern stutter in Germany, even Paris with this FIFA team that they've got stutter domestically. But these 2 clubs, these are your guaranteed bets week in, week out, 4-0, 3-0, zip this, zip that. There is such a gulf between City and Liverpool and the rest of the league. No matter who wins it is going to deserve it. I just don't see either of them slipping. They've played 32 games, man. I'm calling 18 points out of 18 for both of them between now and the end of the season, because looking at their matches left, that could be problematic. I don't think Liverpool will have an easy trip to Newcastle, but they will get the points there because they're better. That match against Man United was kind of like their last what's it called, banana skin. And it wasn't like this United was ever going to go to Anfield and win, but they might have just snaked a draw for sentimental reasons, but that was never going to happen either. Looking at the fixtures that they've both got left, bro, I cannot see a single game where City and Liverpool, a focused City and Liverpool, are going to drop points.
So we've got Champions League semi-finals coming up. Liverpool have Villarreal. City have Real Madrid. So it's an all Spain and England semi-final, last four. Can the Champions League provide either team with a bit of breathing room when it comes to they're going to focus their attention to the Champions League? But when you look at you have basically a second string team, Liverpool or City, are going to run riot over, I'd say, 15 out of the rest of the league.
There's the Champions League fixtures. Obviously, you put your full team forward, but you're at that point in the season now where A, you trust your starters, and B, you trust your depth as well. And both of these teams can definitely count on both. So I think if you're likely to see anybody resting players, it'll be Pep, because he's got that little bit of extra depth that Klopp doesn't have. And if that's the case, then you might see City rotate against some of the easier teams that they're playing against, like the likes of Leeds. I think they've got Villa as well somewhere in there. But it's one slip up in the Premier League will cost either side now drastically and dramatically. You can't slip up if you want to win the league. Just quietly, though, it's going to be interesting to see out of who Tottenham and Arsenal can get that fourth spot, because my head tells me Arsenal, but my heart for Antonio Conte, as Ahmed said, like, I would love nothing more than to see him achieve his expectations, because I want to see him stay at Spurs for another season and continue on with the Conte project. It's a beautiful thing to watch. Trust me, take it from us.
It definitely is, and perfect movement into that top four. Liverpool, City, you can almost say they've certainly secured their spot. Well, I'm pretty sure they have.
They have Chelsea, mathematically now as well, yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Chelsea on 62 points with 2 games in hand at the moment on Manchester United. They're sitting in third. Then it gets a bit interesting with Tottenham and Arsenal sharing 57 points in 4th and 5th spot. And then you have Man United on 54 points, who have played the max 33 games thus far, whereas Arsenal and Tottenham still have that fixture between them. So mathematically speaking, anywhere from Wolves, I would assume, to Tottenham can qualify for this Champions League position. You can really include Chelsea into that as well. But you'd assume Chelsea has gone through, leaving 1 Champions League spot, 1 Europa League spot, and 1 Conference League spot. Are Man United at risk of not qualifying for Europe in general?
I don't want them to, bro. I want this team to finish 8th at the end of the season. They need to finish as low as possible on the ladder so that the reset can start as low as possible next season. Next season, like, honestly, bro, you need to start promoting the 18-year-olds next season and sell everybody, get everybody out. I don't care who it is, man. Like, honestly, Maguire out. Shittest centre-back in the league, hands down, yet the most expensive centre-back in the league, hands down as well. Pogba, mentally, checked out a long time ago. Get rid of him and get rid of his wages as well. Cavani's got to go because he's not there long enough, even though when he's on the pitch, he'll always be one of my favorite players. He just oozes class, and just go and watch his highlight reel for United, because even at his age, when he has decided to turn up, he turns up typical Edinson Cavani style. Lingard's going to leave. You got the likes of Mata leaving as well. Varane was a shit buy. He was a knock buy. What's it called? What do they say? They say you've bought a crock. Someone who's been more injured than fit lately, but is coasting more on reputation. Look at, say, Inter's deal for Raja Nainggolan. That, with more trophies, is pretty much what you've got with Varane. There, his disciplined style is fine, but he's slow, and he's taken too many knocks. He wasn't good for France in their last national tournament as well. The signs were on the wall. Then you've got dead wood still with, like, Eric Bailly. Like, this whole squad needs to go. It needs to go to start a different generation and a different sort of mentality of players that come through the academy properly, players that are not so much local, but have been scouted properly and know exactly what they're in for, climate-wise, club-wise, environment-wise, weight of the badge. Do you know what it means to be here? Blah, 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 all that fancy stuff. United needs to fall as low as possible, long story short. Thanks for letting me have my rant, but they don't deserve to be anywhere near fourth. I wouldn't want them in a Europa League spot, let alone a Conference League position. So as we have noticed with our team, and as we've always pretty much said as fans, because we are spoiled with the teams we go for, if you're not qualifying for the Champions League, I don't want a bar of European football the next season. I'll just take my domestic games.
Yeah, so you touched on the players. And Tag from Ajax has all but been announced as next year's manager for United. But you didn't touch on the owners. And one of the things that I have seen as of late has been the promise that was made last year when the Super League never went ahead and the fans wanted the Glazers out. And it's still yet to happen. Manchester United are a very marketable team. They're one of the most recognized teams throughout the world with a massive fan base in almost every country. It wouldn't be that hard to sell. But who would be willing to take what I would call a collective mess at Manchester United at the moment?
The Glazers have no intention of selling Manchester United. Let's just make that clear before we start. They've never even entertained the idea, and they're very quick to squash it in pretty much every news report that comes out. I'm pretty sure the last one was only about 2 weeks ago when there was a staged protest at the game. They came out straight after that, and they said that they wanted to be more like transparent with the supporters, and they want to come up together with like ambitious packages to make things work, blah, blah, blah. But this is all just hearsay now, and they're just... Look at Inter, man. With Steven Zhang's doing the exact same thing, except Manchester United's liquidity is still one of the best in Europe and the world. It's still probably a top 3 to 5 money-making club in the world, and that's why they can really paper over their cracks time and time and time again. But the fairy dust of Sir Alex Ferguson takes a while to wear off. And as it was wearing off with Moyes and Van Gaal and Jose, you still get those little glimpses of where it should be, where it could be, and where it pretty much, like Mourinho's the closest that United got to getting back there. And looking back on it now, you really wouldn't have treated him as badly, and you would have taken his opinions on some players a lot more seriously in hindsight. But now looking at them, they need to pretty much start from a tactical scratch. And Ten Hag's a good one to bring in for that particular thing. But the Glazers, at the end of the day, I don't live over there, so I don't know how the real fans feel over there. But these owners still pump ridiculous amounts of money into the club, transfer-wise. I'm a Manchester United fan. I'll put my hand up right now. This sounds like the most spoiled fan base in the world, because they still buy players. Yes, when they get the players, they're handled poorly. Everything from a management down and from board down is really poorly handled. But take a look at the numbers, don't lie. Look at the players they've bought since Sir Alex left. They buy superstar after superstar every single season, to the point where you can no longer get happy over any signings that they make, because you see all of them bomb out. And just for the record, if anyone's still watching the same sport, Cristiano Ronaldo is the last thing on the list. That is the problem with this club. The last thing. So that's my
sometimes the weight of the badge can weigh too much on the shoulders of some of the players, and I think that
for sure
is textbook in regards to a lot of these Manchester United youth. But talking about new owners, Newcastle, who were bought in the December, roughly around then.
Yeah, a little bit before, I think. Saudi
group, were in relegation. Now they sit pretty in 11th spot, 15 points clear of relegation. So Brentford's also up there. But let's move down to the bottom 5. You've got Norwich, Watford, Burnley, Everton, and Leeds United. Who do you see surviving the drop? Who do you see going down? And do you really see anyone out of those top 5 dropping into relegation perspectives?
I think that you'll see Everton survive the drop. They'll get enough points just before the season closes out to reset next season again with something nicer. You know, Carlo Ancelotti came out and said recently that if Real Madrid didn't come calling, I probably wouldn't have left Everton. Man, that one has got to hurt for their fans. Hearing him say that has got to hurt. Imagine how much different it would be if King Cardinal was still there. That's such a classic example of just a manager, one man being the only thing standing between a club that's stable and a club completely collapsing on itself. I expect Burnley to get relegated, to be honest. Didn't their manager walk out recently, Sean Dice? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he was sacked. He's been there for like 11 years, bro. He has been there for yonks, and I haven't followed the story close enough. Do you know why? Was it internal?
It was a mutual agreement, which we all know is he's been asked to leave. But now I believe it's their captain who is also player coach at the moment. So that is an interesting perspective. But in all honesty, Norwich, I really expected to do better this season. But in regards to everything, the only big call out that I can say I got extremely wrong at the start of the year would be Brentford. I honestly thought they were going to pop in, say hello, and then be leaving out the door the next year. And
Christian Bello Eriksson is just the man.
Oh, he has been spectacular since he's signed for them, especially in the fixture against Chelsea where they were down 1-0 and ended up winning 3-1 or 4-1, something like that. And it was just phenomenal. But Everton, I think, is also the surprise package. A lot of people did not see dropping that
Euro Chance is saying it in the chat, and it's dwelling on me. Imagine they do get relegated. It'll be the biggest relegated side you've seen in football for a long time. Think about it across all the leagues. When was the last time a club of that magnitude got relegated? You know, that's an upper mid-table to fighting for Europa League, Conference League position side. That's what they're meant to be. They're always meant to be the tier just outside the bigger teams in England.
Yeah. So, look, I think we've summed up the EPL pretty much as well as can be. And essentially, it is going to be an interesting run home across the board in most of the leagues at the moment where it's quite competitive. So, moving on to the next league, which is what we will cover, the Serie A.
Yes.
And I know this is a league you are extremely fond of, and both you and I. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. You've got AC Milan in first place on 71, Inter in second place on 69 with a game in hand. Then you have Napoli on 67 and Juventus on 63. But it then gets interesting because you got Roma, Fiorentina, Lazio, and Atalanta all separated by 7 points. So although Champions League may already be sorted, it's an interesting battle for the rest of the domestic leagues. So Serie A, let's start with Champions League. Let's start with our team, as everyone knows, Inter. Euro chances already gotten in there. Forza Inter, not for everyone. Best league as well. It is one of the most competitive leagues.
It's definitely not the best league at the moment, bro. That's for sure.
Best league. So you've got the top of the table. So let's talk title race. Napoli, have they ruled themselves out after the performance on the weekend?
It's tough to say. It's a tough ask because the gap between the sides is not large. It's not large at all. It's anybody's Scudetto still. But Napoli, after losing their gas in that game, they've got a couple of really tough games with, I'm pretty sure it's Sassuolo and Torino coming up. But it's not the toughest fixture list. Like, if Napoli can still win their next two games in a row, 3 games in a row, they are still there. They're still there, but they are the ones that are now on the cusp of being left behind in the title race. And at match day 32, 33 now for those sides, you don't have any more time to come back. So Napoli are now what I like to call in sudden death mode, where one more dropped point for Napoli between now and the next 2 or 3 games, and they are out. They are sudden death mode completely now. You need to beat Empoli away from home this weekend, or you are out. You need to beat Sassuolo at the Maradona, or you are out. So it's a bad position for them to be in Scudetto-wise, but they might still be looking at that game. And like, I speak to a lot of Napoli fans, and I can tell you right now, hand on chest, I have not spoken to a single Napoli fan who even up until now at this point of the season remotely thought they were going to be champions and are going for the Scudetto. They really care about this Champions League spot after missing out on the last day of season, last day game of the season, last season to Verona. So that they know that that's still probably a point gained against Mourinho's Roma on the weekend. And the gap between Napoli 67 and the 5th place 56, that's enough for them at the moment. That's 11 points. They're pretty much 2 wins tops away from going to the Champions League. Everything's fine for Napoli, if that's what you're asking me.
Is this current top 4 going to change?
No, but I wish it did. I wish Juventus were to slip out of this one. And for anyone, I don't care who it is, man, to get into that 4th spot. But it'd be really, really nice to see Fiorentina win their games. They're in such hot form lately. They're playing so well, even after losing Dusan Vlahovic in the January market. They've got a game on the final match of the season against Juventus. So I'm hoping that they and Juve can stay neck and neck. What is it, 56 and 63? And they've got the game in hand, though. So you never know. If they win their game in hand, Juve just has to drop 1 extra game, and then they might even end up playing off each other. But now I'm just reaching. For me, I'd love to see Jose Mourinho and Roma get through as well. But it's been a pretty crappy season for Atalanta, and you can just hear more about that on Serie A Roundtable every week with myself, Adam, and the other guys.
So we've spoken in England about their Champions League prospects. The only team left in Europe in the Serie A is Roma, who overturned a massive deficit in their most recent fixture against Glint, I believe, an unknown team to me, in the Conference League.
Yeah,
this is the first time this Conference League competition's been run. Is this just not the most Mourinho thing to do, to run away and win it and get his name on the trophy first time round? And it would probably be one of the biggest achievements for Roma this century since the turnover, to win the title, this competition.
It's still a European trophy. And when you get, hey, look who's in the house. And when you actually get to this point of these competitions, like I said with Adam yesterday, the sort of sides that you're playing against, they're Champions League group stage sides. It's your Feyenoord Rotterdams, it's your Leicester City, it's your Rangers. It's these sort of clubs that expect to qualify for the Champions League domestically every season. So you're up against quality opposition now. It's a crappy tournament, the same way the Europa League isn't the best tournament up until you reach a certain point in the tournament. And up until you reach about the quarterfinals, then you'll start paying attention properly. And we're definitely on the Jose train with Adam, man. So Forza Roma going forward in this competition, because they're also the only team in Italy, which is just a sad state of affairs, still representing on an intercontinental front.
Yeah, so the final 2 fixtures within the Conference League is Leicester-Roma, and the winner of that will play the winner of Feyenoord-Marseille. So you can really assume, based off form, Marseille will be facing Roma, especially with the way things are going for Leicester and Feyenoord. So are they going to bring Italy's first European trophy since Inter in 2010? Are we prepared to make that call from now?
I hope so. I wouldn't be against Feyenoord Rotterdam winning it as well, only because I love that city. I've been to a couple games there. It's really, really cool fans. But I hope so, because Italy needs something like this. And it would be the most poetic thing in the world to have it be a Mourinho trophy, just for the world to see. So you can have that big mug next to it, smiling, and go, hey, look at this. Look what I did, yeah? Like, that's fantastic, because they've already got momentum going forward next season, Roma. And with a couple of good signings, that Mourinho mentality hasn't really reached its peak yet. It's on this really nice ascension that we saw most of the time with him at Chelsea and at Inter as well, and like in the early stages of Madrid and United. But at United, it plateaued really, really quickly. I don't think it's going to plateau it quickly at Roma. I think he's got an environment where he really feels comfortable and free to make his own decisions. He's got the full backing of the board. And next season is where you're going to really start to see his peak. And they could really use something else, something tangible, like a trophy. You walk that trophy into the locker room at the end of the season, that team for me will go from being a contender to make top four to one of the favorites of making top four, just based on sheer momentum, which in Italy counts for a lot at the moment.
How good has Tammy Abraham been since he's moved from Chelsea to Roma? And a lot of criticism saying, he won't survive in the Serie A. Has he been the game changer for Roma this season? And will Mourinho focus on building a squad which suits the likes of Tammy Abraham and Zaniolo come next season?
I think, it remains to be seen exactly what's going to happen with Zaniolo, because there are rumors that he might be looking to move to Juve, but I don't think it's going to happen right now. I think Roma will be more than... No, not with Mourinho there. And Roma will be more than keen on looking to get some sort of contract extension going for him. But to the short answer, yes, like Abraham has been awesome, really, really good. The kind of striker that Chelsea really wish they probably had this season instead of Romelu Lukaku. But that's a conversation for another day. To answer Eurochance in the chat, Abraham is not on loan, but there is a Chelsea buyback clause somewhere in there, which a club like Chelsea will try and activate on the sneaky. So hopefully for them, there's still a long time before that happens. But smart acquisitions in January, smart acquisition with Sergio Oliveira, who's a big presence for Porto, and coming into, working with a Portuguese coach and a Portuguese environment. That's pretty easy. Also, they're still yet to welcome back Spinazzola, who's going to be another really big addition coming back between now and the end of the season. And yeah, I just think overall it's working. And if anyone's been watching them as well, if anyone's been a fan of like Premier League and United in the past, Chris Smalling is still scoring goals at the back post, bro. Chris Smalling is still scoring goals at the back post of set pieces. It's not 2015, it's 2022, and Mourinho is his coach and he's scoring goals at the back post. I love it.
Look, you covered a lot of this on the Serie A roundtable, so we will summarize the back end of the table quite quickly. We have Genoa, Salernitana, and Venezia all on 22 points, with Cagliari and Sampdoria in the drop zone as well, looking to stay safe with 6 points and 7 points respective between them. But let's just go over here to Salernitana. Their last 5 fixtures, 2 wins in a row after defeating Udinese this morning. Has the relegation battle been sorted already? Is it too little too late for these teams to get out of the zone? Or have they got a chance? Albeit they both, Venezia and Salernitana, have 1 game in hand. And if either of them do win that, they will be on 25, only 3 points clear of behind Cagliari. But is it too little too late for these teams to make up ground?
It's a shame that it's too late for Salernitana, because I want to see them stay up. I really wanted to see them stay up, because you need a team from a little bit more down south in Serie A to play and survive. But I'm quite happy to see Genoa in last place. They've been mooching a living off Serie A, as I've said, for a while. They've been whipping boys for Inter. I know that, apart from this season, unfortunately. But I think it is a little bit too late, because Walter Mazzarri and Cagliari look like they've just done enough, and they've got the quality to go on and gain more points than the teams beneath them. There's a really good head-to-head coming up on the last day of the season, Cagliari versus Venezia. So if there's still 3 points between the two, that'll be a great game, because Venezia, if I'm not mistaken, has the head-to-head on Cagliari. So they could still win that game and leapfrog them. So it could be exciting, but in my opinion, with 5 games to go, Cagliari is just going to put, and they still have to play Salernitana as well. Yeah, don't count it out just yet. Don't count it out just yet. But next week and the week after, I think a couple of results are going to speak big for the top and speak big for the bottom. You might be able to start to just widen the gap, like just by an inch.
Yeah, so guys, if you haven't already, check out Serie A Roundtable, where Anthony has a team like Adam himself, who discuss really in depth the Serie A and where it's going. And it's a really broad range of fans. You've got Roma, you've got Milan, you've got Napoli, you've got Juventus. So they are unbiased, they are straightforward. So make sure you check that out on Football Worldwide. They are probably the most consistent show when it comes to Football Worldwide at the moment. But let's move on to Spain, the La Liga, where things have happened. Now, let's pull up the table. You can almost assume Real Madrid's run away with it with 78 points. They can focus solely on Champions League and still survive. But it gets interesting as we go down the ladder. You have Atletico Madrid on 61 points, Barcelona on 60 points, Sevilla on 60 points, Real Betis on 57, Sociedad on 55, and Villarreal on 52. And I don't normally go down that low, but Villarreal are a Champions League semi-finalist team, and you can see they've sacrificed domestically to get there. But before we talk about, the better-known teams in Spain, Villarreal and Unai Emery have done phenomenal things in the Champions League this season. Not only did they defeat our arch nemesis in Juventus to knock them out in the round of 16, but they went on to defeat Bayern Munich, who were strong, were one of the favourites to win the competition. They're facing Liverpool, but stranger things have happened, haven't they, Ed?
100%, man. They're coming off the back of beating Valencia 2-0 on the weekend. So they're not in horrible form, but they have sacrificed a lot. They've sacrificed probably a good shot at getting automatic Champions League qualification in Spain by playing, full throttle forward, and rightfully so, man. But they've got some really, really good players along the way because what's his name? The one that's on loan from Tottenham. Oh, not loan. He was sold by Tottenham Hotspur. Lo Celso. He has been dynamite for them this season, man. He's been fantastic. So good for them. Good for Villarreal. There's always that sort of one odd team out in the Champions League or one odd team out in Europe where they've just peaked and performed a little bit better than the rest. And beating Bayern Munich, I think, was very, very, very surprising, even more surprising than beating Juventus. But, decent players. And I think that regardless of what happens against Liverpool, they're going to come out of this season just thinking it was a success and being very thankful for the ride. And who knows, between now and the rest of the season, they might be able to pick up more points than, say, Betis and Sociedad and lock themselves in for the Europa League. But unfortunately for them, 8 points is too much to make up now on Sevilla, who will probably get that fourth spot unless they bomb. They were actually closer in a title race for a while, but Real Madrid, man, not too many people have spoken too highly of them this season, unless you're following La Liga closely. They haven't spent much on transfers the last couple of years, 3 years, but that's what you really call proper football heritage, man. They're going to piss La Liga by 15 points, and they almost waltzed into the Champions League semi-finals. Not really waltzed, but they made it look like textbook Madrid. We've seen it year after year after year. It was just expected, even against Chelsea. So now I expect them to make life as hard as humanly possible for Guardiola. Like, this is either the time where Pep slips again against a formidable opponent again, or he probably is going to finally win it this time around, because if he was to come across Liverpool or Villarreal in the final, I think he'd get over the line against either or.
Yeah, look, so we've posted a question in the comments. So, guys, let us know who you think will win the Champions League, as we discussed. But one of the biggest headlines come December last year was Barcelona. Their dip in form. They were hovering between 8th and 10th spot. Xavi's come in. They've had some fantastic signings, Aubameyang, etc. Now, they are currently third on 60 points, 1 point behind Atletico and 18 points behind Real Madrid. But they have 2 games in hand. Now, personally, I did not see them expect them to come back this way and this strong. And in a league that's dominated by Real Madrid, and I'd like to say Raul Benzema, because he has been phenomenal this season for them. Barcelona are a team that people are sleeping on, especially after the way they started the season. But with a team like Barcelona, there are some big names in the mix to sign with them this season. Do you really think they're at Champions League pedigree come next season?
Well, they'll be competitive in the Champions League again, as in like they might qualify out of their group stage, but they're light years off actually winning the tournament. Light years off, because the pedigree that comes with building a Champions League dynasty and a club that wins countless trophies after trophies is that once it finally phases out again, you need to build that up with a new group of strong players, which they are starting to build, and they're making the sort of signings that a club like Barcelona can make because of the lure of the badge. And it's very easy because they are signing players who were sort of demanding and asking for bigger wages and bigger salaries at their existing clubs or at other clubs that were in the mix for them. And they chose Barcelona and a pay cut, or to stay stagnant, like Franck Kessié from Milan, Pierre Aubameyang as well, who wasn't turning up for Arsenal training at 300k a week, but has more than enough time to take a pay cut, go to Barcelona and score in every second game. They'll probably end up signing Paulo Dybala as well, because it just suits that method. Sign him for free, offer him the same salary, or knock it down by $1 million, because he will accept it. Why? Because this is Barcelona. It's easy to negotiate. You don't do the negotiating. They wait at the door saying, please. Same as Real Madrid. These are the only two clubs in the world that have this sort of lure. There's power, and then there's Real Madrid, Barcelona level lure and power, and they will always be ahead of the game in that department. But they're rebuilding well. Xavi's the right man to maybe instill that mentality and start that next generation up again. But as far as this season goes, they're done. They're finished, and they'll come in the top four. They'll come second to fourth, and they'll be happy with that. But they will have to watch Madrid lift the trophy and compete in the Champions League. And next season, that will be their motive, to try and knock them at least off one of those perches.
And do you see any change to the top four? Do you see a shock from Real Betis, Sociedad, or Villarreal encroaching on one of those Champions League spots? Or is the pedigree of the top four teams there, the teams we've become accustomed to seeing up there, is their pedigree something that you don't really see them dropping?
See, I wish Betis would make it in, because it's always good when you see teams who haven't been in the competition for years and years. I don't even think Betis has been in the Champions League since I've been alive. Maybe 1 or 2 seasons, but I actually don't recall them making it out of the Spanish cohort in there. But they've had a really good season this season because they've added some quality. They've got a little bit of quality with Nabil Fekir, with Hector Bellerin in their side as well. So it's not a big surprise that they are in that position. They've got a really funny social media and Twitter admin as well, who's always good for a laugh. But other than that, I think the top four will stay the same. Sevilla will win as many games as now between the end of the season as possible, because their season has sort of taken a left turn for the worst. I think Martial has been a joke on loan. He's going to come back to United, and United has to do everything they can to get rid of him as well.
And as we move down to the bottom of the table, it is a bit more competitive, with Alaves and Levante on 25 points. Then you have Granada in 18th on 30, Cadiz 17th, 31, Mallorca 32, Vallecano 34, and Getafe 35. So you can almost say that the last two positions, 19th and 20th, are almost locked in. But Granada, between 18th and 14th, there's only 5 points. So it's really anyone's game. And for the neutral, those are the games you want to watch. The games where the teams have everything to lose. When relegation comes into the picture and they want to stay there. So keep an eye out in regards to how they line it up in the relegation battle, because it will be interesting. Anthony, I'm going to throw it to you because there are a fair few comments here in regards to the question we posed. Champions League winners, we've got Euro Chance and Adam both saying Liverpool. King Darian saying Real Madrid. But everyone's writing off Villarreal, who pulled off the miracle in what was a 22 shots penalty shootout against United in the final last year of the Europa League. And Manchester City, people just writing them off. Is that the way you see it going?
You can't write anybody off at the semi-final point of any competition. And Villarreal proved that by, once again, I'll remind everyone, knocking out Juventus and Bayern Munich. But it's going to be... it's gonna be City, bro. It's gonna be City because I've thought it from the start of the season that it's gonna be City, and now my mind has changed a little bit. It's more geared towards City or Madrid, but it could be anyone of City, Madrid, or Liverpool. It's fine because they're the best three teams in the world, and they have proven that with their domestic dominance and with their consistency. Liverpool, especially, even more over cups. They're in the FA Cup final as well, and they've won the League Cup, so they're on course for a quadruple, which would be absolutely historic. That'd be a real another way to knock Man United off their superiority perch if they can have a season like that. Either way, it sucks to be a United fan because you're probably going to have to watch one of them lifted. And City, that has been a coveted honor of theirs that they've wanted for a long time, and Pep to get another one of those, he would be a very, very happy man. But Madrid, bro, who's going to count them out? Who's gonna be surprised if they lift their 750th Champions League trophy? No, what is it? 13? Have they won 13? It would 13. Be 14.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Formidable stuff.
It's probably one of the most competitive semi-finals.
It is. It's very exciting.
All England/Spain finals. So it will be very interesting. But let's move on to the Bundesliga, where it does not look close, but fast forward to this weekend, Bayern take on Dortmund, and that 9-point lead gets shaved down to 6 potentially, or extended to 12. So it is anyone's title still, with the upper hand sitting with Bayern Munich, of course, who would still have a 6-point lead if Dortmund were to win. But you can almost say first and second are safe. They're secure. But then you've got Leipzig, Leverkusen, and Freiburg, who are fighting for that last Champions League spot, with Union Berlin losing to Leipzig this morning in the semi-final of the domestic cup, the GFD Pokal Cup, whatever they call it, the German domestic cup. Can anyone knock Bayern off? Well, can Dortmund get the job done and take Bayern out? Is the question I'll ask.
Do you know if the game's in Munich?
I am literally just looking that up as we speak.
If it's in Munich, Bayern win because, psychologically they'll psych them out as well, because every time Bayern scores a goal at home, Munich. They play that. It's in Munich. Yeah, Bayern's going to win it then. It'll be 12 points. And every time they score a goal, they play that ridiculous version of the Can song in the background that's like kicking your opponent while they're down. It's very, very mentally fatiguing to hear it. That's why so many teams have copped so many goals. They just have to keep hearing that song, watching them celebrate. It's so bad. But it'd be nothing would be better than seeing Dortmund win. I like Dortmund. Most people like Dortmund, and just to make it a little bit more exciting going in. So they've got 4 automatic coefficient spots as well. I think they're actually ahead of Italy in the coefficient rankings, Germany. So they're not going to lose their 4th qualification spot any sooner than Italy will. Italy will drop before they do. Leverkusen, I think maybe because they just have a little bit more pedigree, but I haven't followed the Bundesliga close enough to even analyze anybody besides Bayern, Dortmund, and RB Leipzig. So whatever happens in that Champions League run, you can expect that the top 3, I think, definitely stay in there.
Well, Freiburg in their last 2 have come off 2 wins, whereas Leverkusen has had a loss and a draw. But momentum isn't everything when it comes to the German league, because it isn't a rare occasion when you see 5, 6, 7, 8 goals being scored, and sometimes by the one team. So anything is possible in the German league. Personally, if Dortmund don't do it this year, it will be a long trip for them, especially with Haaland reportedly agreeing to terms with Manchester City, which is a complete kick in the teeth for a lot of teams who thought they were in the race. But images coming out in the last couple of days where Haaland was at City Champions League games, domestic games and stuff, growing up as a kid. So it is quite the homecoming for him, some would say. Then you look over at the relegation battle for the team. Gütersloh have done nothing this season, as well as just struggling, only recording the
Wow, 3 wins. Poor guys.
3 wins. They never belonged in the league, but they managed to get there. It was one of the teams that they're there just to make up the numbers. And you got to think the Bundesliga is one of the leagues with 18 teams, so it is quite tough to get up. And when you do, it is a struggle. So it will be interesting. Arminia Bielefeld are still in it. They're fighting against Stuttgart and Hertha Berlin, as well as Augsburg, who are only 6 points clear of them. So in Germany, it is quite different. So the bottom two automatically get relegated, and the top two of the second division automatically get promoted. Third in the second division play third last, and the winner of that decides who gets there. So it is
quite cool.
I actually would love to say that more in the Serie A and some of the other leagues. I think if you drop the Serie A down to, in my opinion, 15 teams would be phenomenal. But if you drop it down to 18 teams, you would see them pick up their game drastically. So the relegation battle in Germany is quite intense, with only one team really being written off, of course. Wolfsburg, a lot lower than what a lot of people would have thought, but they are on the up and up. Although they've lost 4 of their last 5, they have managed to, I personally feel they've managed to do what's needed to
That would mean that they play 34 games in total that season, not 38 then, because there's 18 teams. Right. So there's not that long left. I just figured that out.
4 fixtures, 12 points.
Yep.
So
interesting. Oh, dude, that title race is done. That title race is done. Even if Dortmund win, that title race is done.
If Dortmund win, there's only 9 points available, and Bayern would have to secure 1 point. So it would be interesting to see how that all pans out. And Leg Un is the last one who I love when they do their midweek fixtures, because they play them all in one hit. It's not spread over 3 days, so teams have an advantage come the weekend after. It is all played on the same day, and that was this morning. So without further ado, the Leg Un, the French Uber Eats Leg Un. As we move into it, you have PSG in first on 77 points, Marseille in second on 62 points, Rennes 56, Strasbourg 56, Monaco 56. So 3 teams tied on 56, and Nice on 54. All right, PSG, they've wrapped it. You can't really argue with them. They've won 4 of their last 5, as has Marseille. They've won 4 of their last 5. But if you go down the table to 9th spot, last year's champs, Lille, are in 9th spot, 48 points, 29 points off first place. Did they really get depleted that much, Anthony, to be 29 points off last place, our first place?
I guess so. I think bouncing back from a season like that was always going to be tricky. I can't even remember off the top of my head the players that they lost, but I don't think they would have expected to drop that low. I think Marseille's having a pretty good season. I know they won 3-2 this morning against Nantes. Payet penalty, 2 of those. But yeah, to be honest, the relegation battle is actually pretty interesting as well, because you've got big sides like Bordeaux and Saint Etienne having absolutely horrendous campaigns. And I remember when I spoke about it with our friend Jeremy Magan on this channel, when we spoke French football before, it was a really, really weird season for these two. And he anticipated that they were going to still struggle up until this point, and it looks like they have. So that could be really rough for them going into next season. But I think overall, Rennes having a really good season. I know that their expectations weren't to be that high at the start, so this is their surprise package. And Marseille, they just need to make sure that they lock down that Champions League spot, which they should. But more importantly for them, they're in their semi-final of the Conference League, and they'll really want to get to that final, because they are a club with some European history, with a lot of proud fans. Yeah, that's all for me.
Yeah, look, the battle for third, they're all locked up on 56 points. So Europa League, Conference League, and Champions League qualifying positions all up for grabs because France only have 2 automatic qualifications with a 3rd spot to be a playoffs fixture against some of the teams. So Monaco, Strasbourg, and Rennes are all in contention there. But I want to draw your attention to 17th spot Clermont-Foot, this is a fan favorite of Jono and myself. And they are a team, their first ever season in the top flight league of France. And they are just hanging on to 17th spot. You did touch on Saint Etienne and Bordeaux, who are struggling, and Metz, who are abysmal this season. And Bordeaux, I did predict at the start of the season, would probably be one of the teams to lose their manager and just struggle throughout the whole season. And those predictions are pretty much spot on, where I just do not see them domestically doing anything or enough to keep their head afloat. They're on 33 fixtures with a 20-team league, so they've got 5 more fixtures to go, 15 points. And when you look at the top of the table, 15 points is exactly the gap between PSG and Marseille, but the pedigree there is just too much. Before we wrap it up, PSG, is there anything they can do to cement their foot in Europe next season?
Nope. They just got Messi and they couldn't even do it, bro. There is nothing they can do but get a coach in. Or no, something has to happen with the selling of the club, or they need to have owners that don't make the decisions for the manager as well. Because having all these superstars in their team and having to play them and have an unbalanced team in Europe against the opposition, it's not on. They've got so many assets that they need to shift on. So many players. I saw the likes of Paredes and Icardi and Di Maria are all pretty much going to leave at the end of this season. Everyone, I think they just need a reshuffle. Like, it's one thing to win that French league over and over again, and I know that the French league is still a very respectable league at the end of the day. So their dominance is due, but can't be behaving like this in the transfer market and doing that poorly in Europe time and time again, because it's not even, they're just getting turned over. So I'd love to see Marco Verratti leave and come back to Serie A.
Look, I honestly think their biggest problem at the club is Pochettino. They got a club which has high expectations of winning everything there is to win, and they get a manager who's won nothing. There are reports that Zidane is looking for the national team job. And what better way to put your foot in the door when it comes to the national team than to lead the capital in PSG? And I just feel if you put Zidane at the helm of that squad, a lot of these players would find their place within the team. And
probably
there are reports that Mbappe is remaining within the club, so it will be quite interesting. So without further ado, I think that is all we do have time for. There are some amazing fixtures coming up this weekend. You've got the Battle of London between Arsenal and West Ham, which will be quite decisive when it comes to the title, and not the title, sorry, in regards to
Champions League.
You've got Borussia Dortmund taking on Bayern Munich in Munich, which is another spectacular fixture. You have in Italy, Inter taking on Roma, which could almost cement Inter's spot at the top of the table. And Spain, there is so much to look out for as well. I don't want to pick a single fixture there because I don't really know any of the fixtures, to be honest. But you can thank you guys for sticking around. There are a fair few people who are in the chat following us from the Interworldwide channel as well. So thank you for your support. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to catch Anthony on Serie A Roundtable. Just give us a rundown of your most recent episode, Anthony.
It was just Adam and myself with a fan cam from Frank Caravello from Serie A Sit Down. Real stand-up dude, great podcast as well. Match day 33. So there's a lot to play for. Not only is that Inter-Roma game interesting, but Milan play Lazio, and both sides really need a win if they want to reach their season's objectives. So, yes, check that out weekly.
Again, and thank you for joining me, Anthony. Always a pleasure from all of us here at Football Worldwide. Thank you, and we will see you shortly. Bye.